journalists fighting for us on our behalf.
Right. We need a system that works for everyone the first time around without all these hassles and interventions.
So what can we learn from Vettin's story?
Well, the big lesson is that there's no real price for anything in our system. I mean, everything is the product of negotiation. I mean, remember, she got estimates that ranged from $19,000 to $100,000.
That's a crazy disparity.
Well, it's crazy, and if you're trying to figure out what you should pay, how can you even take the first steps with that kind of range, right? So what happened was the price estimates she got online were at the $19,000 end, and those are cash prices, so they didn't tell her much about what she, in fact, would owe. And in her case, the hospital charged her the insurance price, which was closer to the $100,000.
Why did the hospital charge her the out-of-pocket cash price?
Well, because the hospitals want to charge as much as they can, and they knew she had insurance, so they thought, well, we'll go with the $100,000, I assume.
So what did Vettin's do? I mean, besides have a journalist ask a lot of questions on her behalf, what does it teach us about what other people can do about really high medical bills?
She did some really smart things. I mean, first of all, her mom was a physician, right? So she had someone in her corner arguing on her behalf. But also she enlisted the help of her surgeon. And your doctors are really on your side in this. And the hospitals need to listen to their staff surgeons. They're the ones who bring in the business. So her surgeon went to bat on her behalf as well.
And what other resources are out there?
There are a number of websites that will help you with estimating prices. There's Prater, there's Clear Health, there's Healthcare Blue Book. There are numerous ones. Those won't tell you the price you have to pay, but they'll give you kind of data points that you can use to argue your case.
This seems like so much work, so much research.
It's a really big burden to put on patients who are having surgery, especially something as emotional as gender confirmation surgery.
Right.
You know, you think about all the things that Ren Vettin's family did to help her. They went back and negotiated directly with the hospital, got an out-of-pocket cash price. Then they had to go back and negotiate with both the insurer and the hospital over yet another bill. And yet, in the end, it worked, right? So that's the good news.
Very end.
Yeah, persistence is key, and be a fighter.
That's Elizabeth Rosenthal, the editor-in-chief of Kaiser Health News. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
That story you heard from Bram Sable-Smith is part of NPR's reporting partnership with Side Effects Public Media, station KBIA, and Kaiser Health News. And hey, if you have an interesting medical bill, we would love to see it. Go to NPR's Shots blog to share your bill with us and with Kaiser Health News. You're listening to All Things Considered from NPR News.
Support for NPR comes from WBUR and from Visiting Angels, professional caregivers assisting adults at home in bathing, dressing, meals, and lighthouse work nationwide. Visiting Angels, America's choice in senior home care. Learn more at 1-800-365-4189. The Jack Kent Cook Foundation, providing scholarships throughout the nation to exceptionally high-achieving students with financial need, from middle school to college. More information about Cook Scholarships is available at jkcf.org. And Amazon Studios presenting Don't Worry, He Won't Get Far on Foot, starring Joaquin Phoenix, based on the true story of a quadriplegic artist who drew humorous cartoons, directed by Gus Van Sant, now playing.
This is 90.9 WBUR and WBUR.org. Coming up next hour on All Things Considered, tariffs imposed by the Trump administration are becoming a major part of this fall's Senate campaigns, and the approach of Democrats to the issue varies depending on the race. That and much more ahead on All Things Considered. It's 83 degrees now in Boston. Skies should clear this evening. The low tonight around 70 degrees. Then tomorrow, a mostly sunny Friday, a slight chance of some showers and thunderstorms, and highs in the mid-80s. From Boston University, you're listening to 90.9 WBUR FM Boston, home of Boston's largest radio newsroom. 92.7 WBUH Hillsbury, 89.1 WBUH Brewster, and streaming at WBUR.org. WBUR, Boston's NPR news station. Today is the court-imposed deadline to reunite migrant children with their parents, and earlier this week the government claimed it was up to the challenge.
We're on track to do it. We're working hand in glove with HHS. It's certainly our intention to reunify all families that are single.
Still, hundreds of families remain separated. It's Thursday, July 26th. This is WVUR's All Things Considered. Good afternoon. I'm Sharon Brody. Coming up, America's farmers say the president's trade war with China is hurting their bottom line. A soybean farmer in Wisconsin sums it up.
China is absolutely our number one customer. One of every 3 rows of soybeans goes to China.
The former cricket star has declared himself Pakistan's new prime minister, but his opponents say the election was fraudulent.
All the other major parties are alleging nothing but interference or rigging during election day itself.
The other leading candidate is in jail. Also, tech stocks, $1 trillion race. It's 5:01. First, this news.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Barbara Klein. The Trump administration is fast approaching its court-ordered deadline to reunite the remaining migrant families separated at the southern border by the federal government. But as Texas Public Radio's Ryan Poppe reports, at least one congressional lawmaker is unconvinced the administration will meet the goal.
During a closed-door meeting, U.S. Homeland Secretary Kristen Nielsen told a group of lawmakers that included Congressman Joaquin Castro, the administration is on track to comply with Southern California U.S. District Judge Dana Sabraw's deadline.
I'll be surprised if they actually meet the deadline because there's still hundreds of people that need to be reunited for them to meet that deadline. She did say that they know the identities of every child and every parent.
However, Castro says during that same meeting, Nielsen also said the administration had deported 463 migrant parents without their children. Nielsen told Castro the federal government was assigning these children a guardian and would eventually be placed in foster care. For NPR News, I'm Ryan Poppe in Austin.
Attorney General Jeff Sessions is standing by his deputy, Rod Rosenstein.
My deputy, Rod Rosenstein, is highly capable. I have the highest confidence in him.
Sessions' comment comes after a group of hardline conservative House Republicans introduced articles of impeachment against Rosenstein last night. They argue he failed to provide documents from the Russia probe, which Rosenstein oversees. Sessions is urging lawmakers to focus on more pressing issues. The Trump administration is threatening to impose sanctions on Turkey if it doesn't free an American pastor. NPR's Michelle Kellerman reports Ankara is responding by accusing Washington of damaging the U.S.-Turkey alliance.
Pastor Andrew Brunson was let out of a Turkish jail this week after 1.5 years, but is still under house arrest. President Trump says on Twitter, this innocent man of faith should be released immediately. And Vice President Mike Pence says the U.S. is ready to impose significant sanctions on Turkey.
Release Pastor Andrew Brunson now, or be prepared to face the consequences.
He was speaking at the State Department's first ever conference to advance religious freedom. A spokesperson for Turkey's president calls the threatening language unacceptable and calls on the U.S. to adopt a, quote, more constructive position. Michelle Kellerman, NPR News, the State Department.
In one of the worst single-day losses in stock trading history, Facebook stock collapsed today, wiping out $119 billion in market value. This after a disappointing earnings report yesterday. And in a look at Wall Street in general, the Dow closed up 112 points at 25,527. This is NPR.
This is 90.9 WVUR. I'm Sharon Brody in Boston. Residents in several central Massachusetts communities are cleaning up after tornadoes touched down early this morning. This afternoon, the National Weather Service confirmed that tornadoes caused damage in Upton, Douglas, Uxbridge, and Northbridge. One tornado was on the ground for about 4 miles, and the other tornado was on the ground for a mile. Both twisters had winds of around 100 miles an hour. At least a dozen homes were damaged, along with cars, and many trees were knocked down. It is nearly a month overdue, but Massachusetts now has a state budget. Governor Charlie Baker signed the $41.2 billion package today after he lopped off about $500 million in earmarks and other spending. The governor says the budget provides a record high level of local education aid to